Hey fifth graders, it's Mrs. Tremblay. Today we're going to do workbook page 23, and then after we finish this workbook page together, I'm going to have you finish your 1-8 homework and remembering sheet. So you need your math workbook pages packet, and again we're on page 23. Maybe you're just checking your work with this right now, or maybe you want to try some problems and pause in between. Those are both fine options. All right, so the first one says Amy used 7/9 of a yard of ribbon in her dress, and Jasmine used 5/6 of a yard of ribbon in her dress. The first question says, which girl used more ribbon? So if I'm trying to figure out which girl used more, yes, that is a comparison problem. So over here, I'm gonna write my work. I wanna compare 7/9 with 5/6. Okay, now I can't multiply 6 by something to get 9. This is one of your favorites though, when the LCM isn't 54. The first multiple that 6 and 9 have in common, 6, 12, 18. So instead of multiplying this by 6 over 6 and this by 9 over 9, if the first multiple that they have in common is 18, I can multiply 7/9 by 2 over 2. And I can multiply 5/6 by 3 over 3. In doing that, I would get 14/18 and 15/18. And now that I have the same denominator, I can compare them. So 15/18 is greater than 14/18. That means that 5/6 is greater. So when it says which girl used more ribbon, the girl with 5/6. And it says here that Jasmine used 5/6. So I'm gonna write Jasmine on the line. You should too. Now it wants to know how much more did she use? Well, we have 14/18 and 15/18, right? So if I wanna know how much more, that means I'm gonna take my higher value and subtract my lower value from that. And it's nice because we already changed them to have a common denominator. So 15/18 minus 14/18, 15 minus 14 is 1. My denominator never changes. And these are yards. I'm gonna write yards as YD, that's the abbreviation. All right, next one. Mr. Sue and Mr. Frank are in the same book club. Mr. Sue is 5/7 of the way through this month's book. Mr. Frank is 3/5 of the way through the book. Who read more of the book? So again, we are comparing. I want to know who read more. So I want to know which one's greater, 5/7 or 3/5. All right, with this one, the first multiple that they have in common, the LCM, is 35. So I can go ahead and I can multiply 5/7 by the opposite fractions denominator and 3/5 by the opposite fractions denominator. When you do that, you get 25 over 35. And 7 times 3 is 21 over 35. Now that they have the same denominator, we can compare them, right? So 25 over 35 is greater than 21 over 35. That means 5/7 is greater, and Mr. Sue was the one that read 5/7 of it. So I'm gonna write Mr. Sue. Now it wants to know how much more has he read. That means we want to subtract to find the difference. And this is set up nicely. I have 25 over 35 minus 21 over 35. So 25 minus 21, that would be 4. My denominator doesn't change. How much more? 4/35 more. All right, last one like this. Rami ran 1/2 of a mile, and Will ran 3/8 of a mile. Who ran farther? Okay, so in looking at this one, if this were a number talk, I would want you to be able to look at this and say, well, that's equal to 1/2. And if you have 3/8, isn't 4/8 a half? Yeah, so wouldn't that make 3/8 less? So who ran farther? The person that ran half. So it would be Rami. I want to know how much farther though. So if I know Rami ran farther, then I would have to take 1/2 minus 3/8 in order to figure out how much farther. Okay, so I can't just subtract these, right? The denominators don't match. So I need to go ahead and find a common denominator. And what's nice about this one, if I take 2 times 4, don't I get 8? Yes, so this is one where I only have to do half of the work. I can just multiply this one by 4/4, and I would get 4/8 minus 3/8. And 4 minus 3 is 1, and the 8 doesn't change. So how much farther? 1/8 of a mile. All right, we are done with the word problems. Now let's do some subtraction practice along the bottom here. Okay, I have 1/2 minus 1/5. Those denominators do not match. So they need to match before I can subtract. So I'm gonna go ahead and I can't multiply 2 by something to get 5. The first multiple they have in common is 10, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply 1/2 by the opposite fractions denominator and 1/5 by the opposite fractions denominator. I'm going to rewrite my new problem underneath. So 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2, 5 times 2 is 10 again. And now we can subtract because our denominators match. Yay! So if you have 5/10 and you take 2/10 away, you now have 3/10 left. And always ask yourself, is there a number other than 1 that goes into both 3 and 10? No. So that's simplest form. We're good. Right, when you look at number 5, I know it's so tempting to multiply this by 8/8 and this by 4/4, but that would be double the work. You don't have to do that. I know that 4 times 2 is 8, so I'm just going to multiply 3/4 by 2/2. That's going to give me 6/8 minus the 1/8. I don't have to change the 1/8 at all. I just had to change to 3/4. 6 minus 1 is 5, and my 8 doesn't change. And nothing goes into 5 and 8 other than 1, so it's already simplified. Okay, number 6, I have 9/10 minus 4/15. Okay, so think about this one. Especially when you see larger numbers, you should always think about it. What is the first number that if I counted by them, they would have it in common? That's the LCM, the least or lowest common multiple. And I know if I counted by 10, 20, 30, I would hit 30. And when I look at 15, I think, hey, 15 times 2 is 30. So this problem will be a lot easier if you changed your denominator to 30, the LCM. And in order to change this 10 to 30, I'd have to multiply by 3. And in order to change 15 to 30, I'd have to multiply by 2. So 9 times 3 is 27. And we already said 30 a lot of times. 4 times 2 is 8, and yes, the 15 times 2 is 30. Now we've got our lovely common denominator, and 27 minus 8, that would give us 19. And I have 30 on the bottom because it doesn't change. So 19/30, that's already simplest form, so we're good to go. All right, take a look at number 7. 1/3 minus 2/9. This is another one of those where I know it's tempting to want to do double the work. I know how much you love to do double the work, me too. But I can multiply 3 by 3 to get 9. So I only need to change 1/3. I'm going to do that by multiplying it by 3/3. So I get 3/9 minus 2/9, which is 1/9. All set. Okay, look at number 8. 6 and 4. What is the first number that if I counted by 6 and counted by 4, I would hit? 6, 12, 4, 8, 12. 12 is the LCM. So I'm going to multiply 5, 6 by 2/2 because that will give me my denominator of 12. I get 10 on the top. I'm going to multiply 3/4 by 3/3 because that would give me my 12 on the bottom. And 3 times 3 is 9. Now I can go ahead and subtract because my denominators match. And 10 minus 9 is 1, so I have 1/12. Okay, number 9, 3/5 minus 1/4. And yeah, with this one, there is no shortcut. I do need to multiply each fraction by the opposite fraction's denominator. So 3/5, I would take that times 4/4, and I would do 1/4 times 5/5. So I end up with 12/20 here, and 1 times 5 is 5/20 here. Now all that's left to do is subtract. And when you take 5 away from 12, you get 7. Lucky number 7. 7/20. And that is in simplest form already. Okay, I feel like you probably have the gist of it, so I'm going to let you skip those last 3 problems. Good luck on your sheet. Talk to you soon.